Hello, it is August 9th and it is almost 11 a.m. Right now I had to make a video about Junaid. Basically what it has happened is Junaid has been getting rejected by these girls every single day now, and it's been going on for the past 2 months continuously. All of these girls, by the way, Junaid never knew his entire life, were girls that I somehow knew in my life. I had an elementary school teacher, he ran after her. You have to remember the level of humiliation that Jeanette had to face in trying to run after my elementary school teacher around May 25th, 2026. It was so much so that I saw politicians on the news who were unable to make eye contact with the camera. Let me repeat that for you so you put this into perspective for a second in your mind. You understand the magnitude of this humiliation. I had an elementary school teacher. Junaid never knew her. Like all the other girls, Junaid found out about her. He became extremely envious that someone liked me and didn't like him. So he got her, the elementary school teacher's contact info from law enforcement. Then he started to stalk her. He started to call her and text her, begged her to talk to him. And then after she talked to him, he would beg her to sleep with him. In the end, she became so furious, she gave the phone to her son, who was only 2 years younger than me, and her son yelled the crap out of Junaid so bad, and then called the police on him so bad around May 25th, 2026, that politicians that found out about this were so badly humiliated that they could not make eye contact with the camera. Okay, I saw various politicians looking like that. That's how bad the humiliation was. They would not, when someone sees something happening, they put themselves in that perspective, in that person's shoes. A lot of these people that are on my side are only on my side for feeling bad for me. That's the only reason why. And the reason they're feeling bad for me is because humans have a habit of putting themselves into other people's shoes that they see going about their daily life. What they don't know is that this is Junaid's everyday daily life, where he begs women and girls for sex every single day. Well, around May 25th, 2026, Junaid was so badly humiliated by my elementary school teacher and her son, her son's only 2 years younger than me, that politicians could not, after putting themselves in his shoes and watching that occur, they could not make eye contact with the camera. They were looking incredibly embarrassed, humiliated, and even politicians overseas in countries like Italy, they found out about the humiliation and they looked like they were humiliated so badly. You could see it in their faces. They were looking extremely embarrassed and humiliated. That was the level of humiliation that Junaid faced around May 25th, 2026. Right now, after doing the various brain savant tests, including June 24th, 2026, law enforcement basically only had about 2 people that they could use. Everyone was gone. I'll explain exactly why. My dad, the greedy farmer, he was even using his sisters for incest in order to get illegal assurance of money from me after he was caught lying for the second time, and while sending me blackmail price tags of millions of euros. His sister Farah was sending me sexually explicit pictures of her own daughters in order to try to get illegal assurance of money from me. I'll show it to you as I go on. So his sister Farah was sending me sexually explicit pictures of girls resembling her own daughters in order to try to force me to sign this prenup marriage agreement that's been named as a Ponzi scheme since July 6th. Okay. My dad, the greedy farmer, was trying incest requests, okay, almost every single day, okay, and so, yeah, these people were all for the greedy framer. My dad, look at how shamelessly he tries this. This is Sunny Leone. She's a porn star. On the bottom, you see Farah's name, Farah Khan, and Sunny Leone's name on it. They were told on February 11th that this is an open advertisement for incest, to be advertising your name with the porn star's name in order to get illegal assurances of money. My dad on March 7th was still doing this, even though he was told this on February 11th. his other sisters were all, they couldn't say anything bad about me, that I was a drug addict or I was sexually perverted, since his other sister, Afreen, who's really ugly, by the way, doesn't look anything like this in the first place, was told on March 10th that this is an advertisement for incest, after your other sister has been advertising for incest on only 3 days before, on March 7th, and this sister started advertising for incest starting March 10th. This is March 13th, and she's still sending me sexually explicit pictures of women resembling her, okay? And this is March 17th. She was told on March 10th that this is an open advertisement for incest. You need to stop doing this, since your sister has already been advertising for incest around March 7th, despite being told on February 11th that this is an open advertisement for incest. His other sister, due to greed for money, is advertising her daughter to me, okay, all day and night long. That other sister is advertising her daughter to me all day and night long. She looks like an exact copy of her daughter, which means that she went through a lot of pictures in order to find this picture, okay? Excuse me. Yeah, even recently she was advertising her daughter to me. This is July 18th. This is last month, okay? She was still advertising her daughter. This doesn't look anything like her daughter, by the way. But since she wanted to change her daughter's face and how it looked like to increase the chances of me liking her. This is the level of greed these people had, so they couldn't argue that, oh, we think that Hassan is a bad person, he's sexually perverted, drug addict, he's not smart enough, any of those things. So they only had two people. They were Adamji and Maruk. So what ended up happening was Adamji and Maruk claimed these things about me, that I was really stupid and this and that. So they ended up overanalyzing June 24th. And after overanalyzing the brain savant test from June 24th, they found out that I was telling the truth on everything. Okay. And so then Adamji and Maruk are told, hey, you have to make false testimonies against him about him being sexually perverted and a drug addict. Why? Because on July 10th, I saw Ibrahim, the greedy framer, who is a drug addict, and he ends up in the emergency room once a week overdosing on crystal methamphetamine, including 2 days ago on August 7th, today's August 9th. And he had gotten rejected on July 10th around 7 p.m. by my elementary school teacher. And then at 8:45 p.m. on July 10th, he was seen in my car cameras advertising himself for these same women and girls so that they would end up liking him. So what ended up happening was, July 11th last month, Maruk and Adamji were tasked with getting revenge for Ibrahim and these perverts by making up false testimonies against me being a drug addict and sexually perverted. Well, they were caught on July 11th making that false testimony against me. So they basically took those same lies and gave it to my dad, the greedy framer, for him to repeat lies that were already caught to being fabricated on July 11th, only because they had no way else of trying to get revenge from me. Anyways, so right now, they wanted to make me look like I was really stupid in pharmacy school. So what they ended up doing was they had Adamji Maruk and the person in law enforcement who gets the monthly money every month go around the overseas pharmacy school that I went to, try to find other people, since they had already gotten caught themselves fabricating false testimonies against me over and over again. So these other people, by the way, could not have been found without the help of Adamji and Maruk and this person in law enforcement overseas who gets the monthly money every month. On August 7th, they fabricated another false testimony against me, claiming that I was really stupid and dumb and I wasn't smart enough in pharmacy school and this and that. All these false testimonies against me, lies against me, just 2 days ago on August 7th, just to try to prove that I was really stupid and dumb, I wasn't smart enough, and I was really low IQ, I couldn't study in pharmacy school, and this and that, blah, 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 just to make me look like I was stupid and dumb, out of the extreme envy of seeing that all these girls found out about the brain savant test from June 24th being overanalyzed. So now all these girls that Junaid was asking me to go scam, like Moana or Anderson, would end up liking me even more. Why is that? Because after June 24th, 2026 was overanalyzed, it was proven that my brain savant powers, like any other brain savant out there, any other autistic brain savant out there, is thousands of times more powerful than normal human beings. Saying that a brain savant is less powerful than a normal human being would be a self-contradictory statement, mainly due to the fact that the definition of a brain savant is someone with extraordinary powers that would be thousands of times more powerful than normal human beings could ever imagine being. Now, the common sense rhetoric, you have to also remember the fact that law enforcement is fabricating a false testimony thousands of miles away from someone whom I might have never even known or met, that Adamji Mahrukh and that person in law enforcement overseas who gets the monthly money every month went around trying to find, then told them what to say, to lie about me, to fabricate a false testimony against me, to try to prove that I was really dumb, stupid, low IQ, not mentally strong enough to even study, and that I probably didn't even have a brain savant. All this effort going on thousands of miles away by law enforcement in fabricating a false testimony that has now been caught, that literally takes how much? 30 minutes. 30 minutes over here in Cockeysville, Maryland. It takes law enforcement 30 minutes to disprove. And they're doing what? Getting a false testimony made thousands of miles away from someone whom I've never even met. Mahrukh and Adamji went around trying to find this person, along with the person in law enforcement overseas who gets the monthly money every month. They had this person that these people found thousands of miles away to make a false testimony and lie against me, claiming that I was really dumb, stupid, not mentally much strong enough to study, and all these things about me. Thousands of miles away. When over here in Cockeysville, Maryland, law enforcement could have just done a 30-minute test and got this over with and proven it without any kind of a problem, without a reasonable doubt. They would have proven it. If I would be anything short of Kim Peek Rain Man in the end of 30 minutes, okay, I've already put it under oath, and I am again, law enforcement wins their case right away, because my theory against them is this. All they've done since day one, 2001, is run sex scenes with Uncle Joey's in-laws, money fraud that are still going on till only about 2 months ago, and you don't have to be a genius to know that it's going to restart as soon as the case is over. Only became obsessed with me, despite having friends like Asad who were involved in the wedding crime, only became obsessed with me due to finding out about my brain savant. So if that brain savant doesn't exist, law enforcement wins their case in 30 minutes. They could have given up on the entire false testimony that they had made thousands of miles away just by doing a simple 30-minute test. You have to understand the common sense rhetoric behind this, the fact that they would have been lying even if they weren't caught fabricating a false testimony against me from overseas, claiming that I was really dumb, stupid, low IQ from this person that they found overseas. Even if this person wasn't caught completely lying and fabricating, their testimony would have still been false from common sense rhetoric, considering the fact that they're getting this testimony from thousands of miles away, when in fact in Cockeysville, Maryland, they could disprove this claim in 30 minutes. So common sense dictates that they're obviously lying, whether they're caught or not in the first place. So the fact of the matter is, Junaid had been begging me the entire 2 months of June and July, every single day, to go scam these girls. In the first video on this series, in the starting, it tells you exactly how Junaid had been trying to force me to go scam these girls. Every single day after May 25th, 2026, all that happened was Junaid was rejected by these girls. Every single day, begging them to sleep with him every single day. And then, the entire 2 months of June and July. And then Junaid saw the fact that if he didn't change his tactics, if he didn't change his ways, what's going to end up happening is they don't have any narrators already, and Junaid's going to be kicked out, and what's going to end up happening is my brain savant's going to get freed, and all these girls that are rejecting him and asking about me, Junaid's going to have to be forced to watch them talking to me, which Junaid cannot bear. The courts have to understand the fact that Junaid right now is extremely envious. not just due to the fact that all these girls are asking about me while they're threatening to call the police on Junaid, including today. August 9th, 2026, Junaid has gotten rejected by these girls who had nothing to do with Junaid. Junaid was running after them after taking their contact info out from law enforcement, claiming that he was a CEO of a company when in fact he was working the exact same job as my sister, earning the same amount. The only difference was he was getting into fights at work every single day, getting fired or kicked out of work every single year, and every single year trying to get an early retirement, with this year 2026 being a confirmed case. And yeah, Junaid has been trying to get into opening up restaurants due to how he knows that he cannot go on like this since he loses his job every year. He never gets along with people at his workplace. Yeah, so Junaid is extremely envious right now. Main reason is he knows for a fact if my brain savant gets freed, all these girls would be talking to me that have been calling the police on Junaid or have been threatening to do so. The thing that the courts have to remember is Junaid is saying one thing and doing another. Junaid is claiming that it's really bad what one of law enforcement's BFFs, like Uncle Joey, could have said around me as a child more than decades ago while I was being adult supervised, only after my mother had gotten permission from law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child for me to be adult supervised in the first place. Junaid is claiming that it's very bad what Uncle Joey could have said around me as a child. Uncle Joey, who's been a BFF of law enforcement through his in-laws since 2001. And we saw exactly how much of a BFF they were in November 2023 when they were giving Uncle Joey a governor's protocol. So basically, Junaid is claiming this, that he thinks that it's really bad what Uncle Joey could have said around me as a child. But his actions show otherwise. On July 10th at 8 p.m., Junaid does the exact same thing that Uncle Joey would do with law enforcement and would still be doing right now if the case wasn't ongoing, since they are still BFFs, and we know this. Junaid gets law enforcement to tell him exact time for him to come out in front of my car cameras and behind my car cameras so he could advertise himself as a cute autistic kid looking down on the ground, walking, only so that he could advertise himself to these girls. Even though he's not autistic, he just made up everything about himself to try to copy me and run after these girls. He asked law enforcement for the exact moment, which was 8 p.m., around 8 p.m. on July 10th, to advertise himself around my car cameras, just like how Uncle Joey used to try to do using law enforcement, so that he could run after these same girls doing the exact same thing Uncle Joey was trying to do for years. And I had been rejecting Uncle Joey over and over again for years. The thing that the courts have to remember is you have to go by people's actions and not their words. Because on the one hand, Junaid might be claiming that he thinks it's incredibly sad that Uncle Joey would say this thing around me when I was a child, when on the other hand, he would be showing from his actions that he never told law enforcement, no law enforcement, this is wrong. I'm not going to come in front of his car cameras just to advertise myself to these girls and women whom I've never known in my life, only made up false stories about me only to be able to run after them. It's wrong for me to be doing this using hard-earned taxpayer money. Instead, I'm not going to do this, and I'm not running after these girls. But that's not what Junaid did. Junaid did the exact same thing Uncle Joey was trying to do for years using law enforcement after he was rejected by me over and over again. And Junaid advertised himself in front and behind my car cameras on July 10th around 8 p.m. only to try to go and run after these girls. This is a double standard where on the one hand, Junaid is saying one thing and on the other hand, he's doing another. Right now, Junaid is extremely envious and he is going to try to find instances of people that could have met with Uncle Joey at some certain times in their life or said something to him, or Uncle Joey could have said something to them ever in their life. Things of that certain nature. Anyone that law enforcement would have that could have said anything even remotely considered bad around me as a child, Junaid would be going out and trying to find this person, talking to anyone, either me or around me, to try to find that instance and try to blame me for it. You have to remember the fact that the wedding crime was committed by one of law enforcement's own BFFs, like Uncle Joey, with people like Assad and Bushra Akhtar being involved in it, without and with people like Bushra Akhtar and Assad knowing about it, hearing about it with their ears, seeing it with their eyes, the entire crime occur, hearing about it from Uncle Joey's mother afterwards, all day and night long. And then after all of that was done, you would see people like Assad and Bushra Akhtar ahead and behind that person at the wedding who committed the crime with them, like Uncle Joey, the entire wedding, showing from facts and evidences, proving from facts and evidences the fact that these people, Assad and Bushra Akhtar, couldn't care less. And then they would, law enforcement would cover over this crime, and Assad and Bushra Akhtar would never report it, showing from facts and evidences exactly, proving from facts and evidences exactly how much they cared about these crimes. Not at all. Law enforcement in 2023, when they were trying to frame me for it, were running money fraud the entire year very stubbornly, and sex schemes with Uncle Joey at the funeral in November 2023, proving from facts and evidences that law enforcement could not care less about this wedding crime. Similarly, if Junaid tries to find someone who could have met with Uncle Joey after Uncle Joey could have committed that wedding crime, and that person didn't know anything about the wedding crime, like me, whom law enforcement confessed right before trying to frame me for the wedding crime that they knew I had nothing to do with it. If Junaid finds someone whom Uncle Joey could have met after committing the wedding crime, do you think it's that person's fault that they met with Uncle Joey? No, they didn't know Uncle Joey committed that wedding crime. They had no idea Uncle Joey committed that wedding crime. They might have met Uncle Joey just to try to be nice to someone whom they didn't know committed any crimes. Whereas Junaid knew Uncle Joey committed the wedding crime. And what does Junaid do? The exact same thing Uncle Joey does, which is use law enforcement to try to get in front and behind my car cameras to advertise himself on July 10th at 8 p.m. to that he could run after these girls and women and try to advertise himself to them that he's been getting rejected by every single day. What else does Junaid do? Junaid threatens me all day, night long. You have to remember, the law takes you in account for every single threat that you make. Every time you try to scam a girl, every time you threaten to break my car, every time you threaten to take oil out of my car, every time you threaten to break my windshield, every time you threaten to, slash my tires, these are all taken into account by the law as a separate account for every single time Junaid tried to do this in trying to pursue these girls. That means that around in the past 2 months, he did this around 5 times a day. And first, he would ask me to help him scam them. Then he would say that he is going to take oil out of my car when I would refuse. Then he would say he's going to break my windshield. Then he's going to say he's going to break my, slash my tires. Yeah. And then he's going to ask me again to go scam these girls and then pass them around to people like Junaid. That's around 5 things that Junaid is asking me to do that are illegal every single day for the past 2 months. First, ask me to go scam the girls, then threaten to take all out of my car, then break my windshield, threaten to break my windshield, then threaten to slash my tires. Yeah, and then the Pep Boys commercial to threaten to break my car itself. That's 5 crimes. 5 counts of crimes every single day that Junaid is doing for the past 2 months of June and July. That's for 30 days, 2 months. That's around 300 counts of crimes that Junaid committed in the last 2 months of doing exactly what Uncle Joey used to do with law enforcement, which was he would have Uncle Joey from Full House put on my YouTube through law enforcement, letting me know that Uncle Joey is going to be calling my house, telling my mother that he wanted to talk to me, only to pretend to be a nice Uncle Joey from Full House. I would refuse, and then law enforcement would use stomach torture on me all day and night long as revenge for me refusing to help their BFF Uncle Joey with this. Similarly, law enforcement broke my car first, the front under part of my car, to try to show their allegiance with Junaid and to get revenge for getting rejected by my elementary school teacher. Then they started to threaten and try to force me to scam these girls, whom I don't want to do, since if I did that, then obviously they'll be crying on the side after my brain savant gets freed, saying that I used them and then ran away. I don't want to get into anything. I don't even have any friends, really. I couldn't care less about these things anyways. Then law enforcement kept trying to force me to go scam these girls and pass them around to people like Junaid. When I refused, they broke my Fire Stick for my TV. Then they tried to force me again and beg me all day and night long. When I refused, they after a couple days, they broke my charging outlet, which was really nice charging outlet. Has USB ports in it, plugs in it, everything broken. I had to go buy another one. Yeah, you might be thinking, why do you refuse? Well, I refuse because first of all, it's wrong to be scamming someone else's daughter when you know you're not going to marry them. You can only marry one person, and just because they're not telling the other girls that I'm sleeping with all of them doesn't mean that they shouldn't know, and doesn't mean that it's not a scam. It is a scam because you could only marry one, first of all. Second of all, you don't have your brain savant freed yet, and it's wrong to be advertising something or using something for illegitimate purposes when you don't even have it yet. And thirdly, when my brain savant gets freed, I'm just gonna go get married. It doesn't make any sense doing this. And yeah, obviously the girl's gonna be crying on the side saying that I used her after my brain savant gets freed if I don't marry her. That's common sense. I don't want to do this. I don't want to get involved in this. So they kept threatening me and then breaking my things. And then threatening to break my things. That's in the last 2 months of June and July. That's around 300 counts, 5 crimes a day. That's around 300 counts of crimes that the law would take Junaid into account for, making my crime list 0, my attempted crime list 0, my threats vandalism list 0, my intention to commit a crime or do anyone any harm 0. You have to remember, intention in this case is also being taken into account due to the fact that there was a brain scanner used on my brain for years before I knew that there was a brain scanner there, which means that before July 1st, 2023, before law enforcement told me that there was a brain scanner, I didn't know, which means my intentions were also being measured. My intention for committing crimes, wanting to do harm to people, or even looking at people that were Christians or Jewish people, Orthodox Jewish people with long beards, looking with them with anything less than the utmost level of love and respect, 0. I would meet people that were Christians, Jewish, Orthodox Jewish people who would come up to me and tell me about things like zinc that I could use for common cold. I would look at them and love them and respect them with the utmost level I possibly could. And it's proven from a brain scanner and brain scanner evidence from when I had no clue, and law enforcement didn't tell anyone about their brain scanner at that time, from that time period, okay? So intention of wanting to even remotely do anyone any sort of harm, 0. That's 0 against around 300 counts of crimes of vandalism, threatening to commit vandalism, actually committing vandalism, threatening to commit vandalism, breaking people's belongings to try to force them to scam other people's vulnerable daughters into being scammed into committing sex, being passed around to other people who are a bunch of losers trying to get early retirements while working literally the same job and getting the same amount paid as my sister, and getting early retirements due to not being able to keep their job every year and getting into fights at work every day. These are around 5 counts every single day of threatening to break my car, take oil out of windshield, breaking it, threatening to break that, threatening to slash my car, and then trying to force me through these threats to go and scam other people's vulnerable daughters that are asking about me. 5 counts a day. Around 300 counts of crimes in a period of 2 months. That's 300 to 0. 0 crimes committed, 0 crimes attempted to be committed, 0 crimes in thought of committing, 0 crimes that I even thought about committing, wanting to commit, had the least bit of intention of committing, had the least bit of animosity against someone to be wanting to commit it against them due to their race, religion, ethnicity, or anything of that sort of nature, the least amount of it could be found on me for wanting to commit against someone due to their race, religion, and ethnicity. Zero. Zero compared to 300 counts of, in the last 2 months, June and July 2026, committing vandalism against someone's car, property, threatening to commit vandalism against their car, breaking it, Pep Boys commercial, threatening to take oil out of their car, vandalism, threatening to break their windshield for their car, vandalism, threatening to break their car, the Pep Boys commercial, vandalism, then telling them to go and scam other people's daughters, while knowing that this would be a scam and a lie. Around 5 counts of crimes every single day after breaking the front under part of my car to try to show me that they were serious and they really meant it, and they were getting revenge on me for getting rejected by an elementary school teacher of mine whom they had nothing to do with. Junaid never knew his entire life, only got her contact info from law enforcement due to his extreme envy of someone liking me who didn't like her. 300 counts, 300 to 0. 0 committing crimes, 0 intending to commit crimes, 0 wanting to commit crimes, 0 talking to commit crimes, 0 of crimes of that I could even have the slightest bit of animosity against someone, of wanting to even lightly commit it in the years that I had a brain scanner attached to my brain without anyone knowing about it. That's 0 compared to almost 300 counts of crimes in the past 2 months. And Junaid now wishes to try to use people like Uncle Joey and anyone that could have met with Uncle Joey after he committed the wedding crime that law enforcement confessed that they knew I had nothing to do with, and there isn't even anyone whispering to me about the wedding crime, despite me being watched 24/7 since I have an 11-year-old child. Clearly showing from facts and evidences, proving from facts and evidences, the fact that Junaid is incredibly desperate to try to frame people in order to be framed for things that they have nothing to do with, crimes that they could not have known about. And while he would be saying that it's so terrible that this person met with Uncle Joey after he committed the wedding crime. By the way, I've never met Uncle Joey after I was a child, ever. Even though law enforcement did try it multiple times and tortured me, I never met him. But while Junaid might be saying that it's so terrible that this person might have met Uncle Joey after he could have committed the wedding crime, at the same time, Junaid is showing something totally different, because he's doing the exact same thing Uncle Joey was trying to do with the Full House Uncle Joey commercial on my YouTube, where Uncle Joey, nice Uncle Joey, is being played on my YouTube with a Full House of Mary-Kate and Ashley, and nice Uncle Joey is getting them ready for school. And then after I saw that on YouTube, the law enforcement just like, Uncle Joey's gonna call you. You have to pretend like he was a really nice uncle. I'm like, I'm not doing this. I know what you're doing. I'm not doing this. Junaid did the exact same thing on July 10th around 8 p.m. where he came in front and behind my car cameras after asking law enforcement the exact moment he has to get out to try to come in my car cameras to advertise himself as a nice autistic kid looking down on the ground, and being forced to look down on the ground because he's autistic, when that has nothing to do with autism, and he's not autistic. But yeah, he's doing the exact same thing Uncle Joey would do with law enforcement, but he's saying that it's very bad that Uncle Joey, more than decades ago, while he was adult supervising me, who is a BFF of law enforcement since 2001, it's terrible that Uncle Joey could have said something bad around me as a child. He's saying something and he's showing something totally different. He's showing everyone that he is an exact copy of Uncle Joey in terms of corruption, in terms of his sex addiction, in terms of his sex rage and envy, and at the same time he's saying that it's terrible what Uncle Joey could have said around his son when he was a child, only to try to use that against me, to try to frame me, to try to exaggerate claims against me. I think this is wrong. People should be going based on their actions and not their words. So if Junaid is committing 300 counts of crimes in the past 2 months of just June and July, while I have never even wanted to, zero thoughts of mine, zero of my thoughts of wanting to commit crimes in my entire life, then that should be looked at. And also, the brain scanner was used on my brain. I met people that were Christian, Jewish, Orthodox Jewish people. I met people with Orthodox Jewish with long beards who would give me advice on using zinc for common colds, and I would love them with the utmost level of love and respect, and it was proven through a brain scanner evidence for years, not just 1 day or 2 days, years before July 1st, 2023, when I was told about the brain scanner by law enforcement themselves because they wanted to use me to run sex games on girls by telling me about the brain scanner first, and then basically saying, you have a brain savant. We know you have a brain savant. Why don't you go scam these girls and send them over to us? Yeah. That has to be looked at. The years of evidence of me meeting people that were Christians, Jewish, Orthodox Jewish people with long beards, meeting with them with the same level of love and respect in my heart that I show on my face, never intending or wanting to, in the slightest bit, of doing any harm to anyone of any race, religion, ethnicity, not even in the least bit. While, forget committing crimes, while Junaid has been found to have committed almost 300 counts of crimes in the past 2 months of June and July, mimicking people like Uncle Joey to the utmost level possible, and he wants me and people that he wants me, and he basically wants me to be framed for being related to Uncle Joey, when in fact he is also related to Uncle Joey, but I have never met Uncle Joey since I was a child, being adult supervised by him. My mother never did let me meet him ever again. The phone conversation from Russia clearly shows you exactly why. He was caught with an online chat, was really dirty. So these things have to be considered. The fact that Junaid wants to show himself as being one thing, where he's telling the court he's very saddened by the fact that Uncle Joey could have said this around me as a child, but at the same time he's showing something totally different, where Junaid is basically mimicking Uncle Joey more than Uncle Joey could have done so himself. Uncle Joey only had law enforcement use stomach torture on me for a couple days for refusing to do his Full House Uncle Joey ad for the sex game ads. Junaid had this done every single day I was starting, month of June, month of July, last 2 months. Yeah, he's the most extreme level of Uncle Joey possible on the outside, and on the inside of court, he's pretending to be not like what Uncle Joey could have said around me as a child. Two different characters that Junaid is playing, even though on July 10th, Junaid could have said, no, you guys, it's wrong. I'm not going to run sex game ads with Hassan's cameras just to run after these girls. This is corruption. This is corrupt behavior. I do not believe in this. I'm not even extremely envious of these girls liking Hassan, but Junaid is. And you have to also consider the fact that if anyone could have even remotely have said anything you remotely considered bad around me as a child, whether Uncle Joey or any of law enforcement's BFFs that they ran sex schemes and money fraud with, Junaid was able to sweet talk all these people into giving him expensive gifts and things at his wedding. Before his wedding, he was able to do so. And he might claim that, oh, I didn't know that this person could have said something. A child doesn't know anything about his surroundings either, especially when the child's mother has already spoken with law enforcement when the child is an 11-year-old child and removed him from every setting where anything even remotely considered bad could have been said around the child. You have to remember the fact that it was only due to this force and necessity of a single mother that I was ever present in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad could have been said around me. Proven from facts and evidences due to the fact that my mother would never be present in that setting where anything remotely considered bad could have been said around me, showing that, proving that she was at work at that time. She had taken permission from law enforcement before, when I was an 11-year-old child. And then she also made a promise that I would never be seen in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad could be said around me from the moment I would gain the slightest bit of mental maturity. Exactly what happened, despite law enforcement claiming that she's too dumb, stupid, or whatever they might try to claim about her, that to say that is the reason she never said anything remotely considered bad around me ever in my entire life. They might even claim that I was too dumb and stupid to hate anyone, and that was the reason why I loved everyone with the utmost level of respect, whether they're Christian people, Jewish people, Orthodox Jewish people with long beards that I met in my life. Maybe I was too dumb and stupid as well to ever hate anyone for no reason. Maybe, I don't know, but they might try to claim that. But the fact of the matter is, my mother took me out of every setting that I was in when I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. Law enforcement, till this very day today, running sex schemes with Uncle Joey's in-laws, monthly fraud, which have been run for years and years, only stopped about 2 months ago. So you tell me, who's dumb and stupid? My mother, who fulfilled her promise the moment I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, due to which my enemies are having such a hard time locking up my brain savant right now, because the children who are not mentally mature enough are being left in a daycare center or something close to it, only due to the force and necessity of a single mother working at fast food restaurants and getting permission from law enforcement beforehand before I would be put there, only due to force and necessity of a single mother who would never be present in that setting, only until I gain the slightest bit of mental maturity, and never again in my life, ever again, in any settings where anything even remotely considered bad could have been said around me ever again. You tell me, who's stupid? My mother, who fulfilled her promise the moment I became slightly mentally mature, or law enforcement, who's been running their sex games with Uncle Joey's in-laws since 2001, and money fraud that's still being run till about 2 months ago? Who's stupid? My mother or law enforcement? I'd say law enforcement, much more stupider than her, much more so, okay? Yeah, so my mother fulfilled the promise the moment she could. As a single mother, I no longer had to leave home when she left, went to work. Facts and evidences show that. They also show that she took permission from law enforcement before putting me anywhere. That was due to the force and necessity of a single mother, and the facts and evidences also show that she was never present in that setting where anything remotely considered bad could have been said around me, due to her obviously being at work at that time, as the tax records from that time would also show that she was working at fast food restaurants or factories at nighttime during that time period. So yes, not only that, you have to also consider the fact that a single mother's poverty has some forces and necessities. If I went back in time right now, I would have no choice but to be put in whoever would watch me for free. And if she would talk to law enforcement beforehand, it would help out a lot. And if she would fulfill her promise by making sure that I wasn't ever present in any settings where anything remotely considered bad could have been said around me ever again after I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, it would help out a lot. But if I went back in time, she would have to do the same thing. If she's working in fast food restaurants, she's going to have to take permission from law enforcement, let them know that it's only going to be temporarily daily, only until I gain the slightest bit of mental maturity, and after which time I would never be seen in any settings where anything remotely considered bad could ever be said around me ever again. Not because we were tipped off, since if we were tipped off, we'd be whispering at least to each other about being tipped off or saying something, but in fact, facts and evidences clearly prove that it was law enforcement tipping everyone off, including Uncle Joey's in-laws since 2001, and money fraud, which also shows that they were tipping other people off as well. Money fraud, which was only stopped about 2 months ago, by the way. Yeah, so the facts and evidences speak for themselves. If we went back in time right now, it would have been the same exact scenario. If my mother would have talked to law enforcement when I would be an 11-year-old child, getting permission from them, it would help out a lot. And if my mother would make a promise that she would fulfill the moment I would gain the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, never for me to be seen in any setting where anything remotely considered bad could be said around me without us being tipped off, since if we were tipped off, we'd be tipping other people off. But the facts and evidence clearly prove that it was law enforcement tipping Uncle Joey's in-laws off in 2001, and money fraud, the people that they ran frauds with. So basically, yeah, these things would definitely help out a lot. But if we went back in time right now, I can guarantee you I'd have to go to the same exact place. As a child, I have no choice. And as a child, I was not the person to be changing my environment the moment I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child. It was my mother. She had the power to do so when I was a child. Even when I gained the slightest bit of mental maturity, she was the only person who had the power to do so. She had to do so. She did it because she made a promise to law enforcement. She fulfilled the moment I became slightly mentally mature. Law enforcement enforcement who might be trying to say that she is not, she's too low IQ, dumb and stupid, which is why she never said anything bad about anyone. It has to take into account the fact that law enforcement is much more stupider, dumber than she could ever be, considering the fact that there's sex schemes with Uncle Joey continued since 2001, still going on right now. Money fraud going on for years and years. Only stopped about 2 months ago. So they're a dumb and stupid claim to try to say that my mother is too dumb and stupid to have said anything bad about anyone. It's similar to how they try to change the facts and evidences on June 24th being overanalyzed. They claim after June 24th brain savant test was overanalyzed that they try to take away my autistic features, like my the lip length of my lips resembling Kim Peek Rain Man, by trying to find pictures of my. I told them, you're trying to change facts over here. The fact of the matter is, once artificial intelligence spits out from artificial intelligence's mouth, this man is Kim Peek Rain Man. He has powers of instantaneous photographic memory, innovation, and focusing that are 1,000 times more powerful than normal human beings, and that he also has his powers increase over time. Once artificial intelligence spits this out of its mouth, there's nothing you could do. You can't go unless you go back in time and not do the over analyzing of June 24th. There's nothing you could do. Whether you find a picture of me where my lips are not as big or really thin, or something of they're not as fat, it's irrelevant. June 24th's already been over analyzed. They try to do these things to try to change the facts. When the facts come out and artificial intelligence has already spit out with its mouth the fact that I have brain savant powers that are 1,000 times more powerful than normal human beings in terms of instantaneous photographic memory, innovation, focusing, and that my powers increase over time, it's irrelevant whether my lips are wide or not as fat on any picture of mine, but they will try to find these things to try to take away my title of Kim Peek Rain Man, only because artificial intelligence cannot be argued against. So these things, you have to consider the fact that these things that are trying to be argued, first of all, there's nothing that could be done. If I went back in time right now, it would be the exact same thing. My mother would have to put me in the exact same place, any place that would watch me for free. There's no other option. If she would talk to law enforcement when I was an 11-year-old child making a promise, that would help. If she would fulfill her promise, which only she could do for a child, take the child out of the setting. Child has no power. If she would fulfill the promise that she would make to law enforcement the moment that would gain the slightest bit of mental maturity as a child, that would help. But is there any other option? No. When I became older, I was in pharmacy school, and my mother was really worried about me, and she was like, "Hey, son, what are you gonna do for food?" And one time I found someone, he was sitting there and he was really worried and he needed a tutor. So I went up to him and I was just like, "Hey, look, man, you need a tutor. I need food, so I'll tutor you. In exchange, you'll just give me food." And he was like, "All right, fine, that's fine. You come over to my house today." And I went over to his house that same day, and I got good food that day. And before that day, I used to get 2 sandwiches and ramen noodles. Well, actually, at that time, I didn't even get that much, and I used to get really little food. And yeah, single mother's poverty. When I became older, I could do something about it. I called my mother that day and I told her straight out. I was like, "Look, I took care of it. Don't worry about it." But when I'm a child, there's nothing I could do. I'm not going to go out there and go work at a place and earn money and give it to her and be like, "Hey, why don't you put me in a good daycare instead of putting me with anyone who would watch me for free?" As a child, there's nothing you could do. As an adult, you can fight poverty through a lot of ways. As a child, there's no way of fighting it. So if we went back in time right now, I would be in the same exact setting. It would help if my mother would make a promise with law enforcement when I would be an 11-year-old child, asking them for permission first. It would help if my mother would take me out of that setting the moment I would gain the slightest bit of mental maturity. But is there anything else I could do if we went back in time? No. There's nothing else I could do. If my mother's working at fast food restaurants, she's going to put me at a place that's going to watch me for free. There's nothing I could do. These people who, like Junaid, who are trying to argue right now that it's terrible that anyone could have met with any of these people who could have said anything you remotely considered bad on me as a child, like Uncle Joey, have to take into consideration the fact that no one knows the crimes that Uncle Joey committed. Okay, no one knows these crimes. except for Junaid and law enforcement, and Junaid, law enforcement's own BFFs like Bushra Akhtar and Assad. No one committed these crimes except for these people. So it's not the fault of the person who never committed the crimes, never knew about the crimes being committed, for them to have been have met this person any time in their life, when the facts and evidence is clearly showed that I had nothing to do with the wedding crime that I was being framed for in the year 2023. And law enforcement confessed to this right before they tried to frame me in the year 2023, after running money fraud the entire year of 2023 and giving Uncle Joey a governor's protocol, actually a protocol that would envy most sitting governors right now in November 2023 funeral. So it's not my fault, even if I did ever meet Uncle Joey, after he committed the wedding crime. It's the fault of people like Junaid, who don't tell law enforcement right from wrong, and they mimic Uncle Joey the first moment they can. So unlike how Uncle Joey wanted to play Uncle Joey from Full House and put that on my YouTube and try to force me to let him pretend this over the phone so he could run a sex game, Junaid on July 10th is doing the exact same thing, taking instructions from law enforcement for the exact moment he comes out on my car cameras, advertising himself for these girls that he's getting the police called on or threatened to do so every single day for the past 2 months. He does the exact same thing Uncle Joey does. Instead of telling law enforcement, no, you guys, this is wrong, this is corrupt, every single day Junaid is getting rejected by these girls that he has nothing to do with. He's only running after them due to extreme envy, for getting their contact info from law enforcement, making up stories about himself being a CEO, when in fact he's working the exact same job as my sister, earning the exact same amount. Only difference is he's getting into fights at work every single day, losing his job every day, every single year, and literally this year being a confirmed case and him trying to go into the restaurant business due to him losing his job every single year. And this year being like a confirmed case of early retirement. Junaid is literally doing the exact same thing Uncle Joey would do with law enforcement. And instead of telling law enforcement, no, you guys, this is wrong, this is corrupt behavior, I'm not gonna use hard-earned taxpayer money to go in front of Hassan's cameras by using you guys to tell me the exact moment, using hard-earned taxpayer money to make these resources, government resources, to find out the exact moment that Junaid would have to come out to advertise himself in my car cameras on July 10th at 8 p.m. Junaid is using government resources to do this, and instead of saying, no, you guys, this is wrong, this is corrupt behavior, I'm not going to be your Uncle Joey over here to try and run after these women, Junaid is doing the exact same thing Uncle Joey was doing at a much higher level. Every single day he's threatening me. Every single day for the past 2 months he'd been doing so. He already committed vandalism against the car by breaking the front under part of my car. He already broke my fire stick after a couple of days of threatening me and seeing that I was not complying with this request. And then after a couple of days after breaking my fire stick, he also broke my charging outlet when, you know, my car was already vandalized around May 25th, 2026, after the police was called on him by my elementary school teacher's son, who's only about 2 years younger than me, only due to the extreme envy of people liking me and not liking him, taking their contact info from law enforcement, trying to stalk them, and still getting rejected by them. In the past few months, every single day, including today, August 9th, 2026, I can guarantee you Junaid has gotten rejected by these girls that he had nothing to do with, only due to these girls liking me, asking about me through law enforcement, and Junaid getting envious of this, taking their contact info, running after them, and then asking me to scam them, when in fact I cannot do that. Even if I talk to someone, I cannot scam them for sex, mainly because if I did, at the end of the day, when my brain savant gets free, they'll be crying out saying that I used them and then ran away, when in fact, why would I do that when after my brain savant gets freed, I could just go get married? This is incredibly stupid behavior, and I'm not going to be taking part in this. So Junaid is saying one thing that is bad that Uncle Joey could have said around me when I was a child, being adult supervised, when in fact Junaid is doing the exact same thing. Or Junaid could be saying that it's bad that anyone could have met Uncle Joey after he could have committed the wedding crime. when in fact neither me nor anyone would have known about the wedding crime or him committing it at all, not one bit. And Junaid at the same time is showing something totally different by mimicking Uncle Joey at the most extreme level possible, by being Uncle Joey at the most extreme level possible, threatening more than Uncle Joey ever did, running after these girls and women more than Uncle Joey ever did, running sex schemes for these girls and women more than Uncle Joey ever did. Committing vandalism against my car, and then a couple days later, after seeing that I'm not complying with the threats of going and trying to scam these girls and women, breaking my Fire Stick for my TV, then a couple days afterwards, seeing that I'm not complying with these threats to go scam these girls and sleeping with them, breaking my charging outlet. Much higher level, he's acting like Uncle Joey, whereas in court he's saying that it's terrible what Uncle Joey could have said around me as a child. Two different characters that Junaid is playing right now as we speak. August 9th, Junaid is still getting rejected by these girls, and it's incredibly sad. He's saying one thing in court while being Uncle Joey outside of court. Inside of court, he's saying that it's terrible what Uncle Joey could have said around me as a child. And it's also irrelevant. Anyone could have met with Uncle Joey after, let's say, Uncle Joey committed the wedding crime, mainly due to the fact that that person would have not been there. He would have not known about it. And the people that have known about it, the people that did cover over the crimes, the people that are the criminals, are people like us at Bushra Akhtar and law enforcement. Instead of telling law enforcement, Junaid was the least bit of good person, he would have told law enforcement, what you guys are doing is wrong. Covering over this wedding crime was wrong. Mimicking Uncle Joey after becoming BFS with him after covering over the wedding crime is wrong. I'm not going to copy Uncle Joey by going in front of Hassan's cameras on July 10th at 8 p.m. I'm not going to be Uncle Joey by getting contact info for these girls that were running after Hassan and then getting the police call on me every single day, including today, August 9th. He's been rejected by these girls again. He had the choice of not being BFS with these criminals that are law enforcement who covered over the wedding crime, became BFS with Uncle Joey only to run sex schemes with him and his in-laws. He made the exact opposite choice. He became Uncle Joey by copying Uncle Joey more than Uncle Joey ever could. He ran after these girls even more aggressively. He committed vandalism against my car to try to threaten me and force me to go sleep with these girls and pass them around. He threatened to commit more vandalism against me while taking breaks in time and then breaking my Fire Stick first to put fear into me, then taking breaks in time to threaten me, and then break my charging outlet to put fear into me to try to force me to go sleep with these girls and then pass them around to people like Junaid, which I refuse to do because it makes no sense for me, a guy like me, to be doing this when after my brain savant gets freed, I could just go get married and not sleep with someone who I know is going to cry out saying that I used them afterwards. It makes no sense for a guy like me to be doing this in the first place. So yeah, Junaid, on the one hand, in court, is arguing that it's terrible what Uncle Joey could have said around me as a child when I was being adult supervised by him after my mother had gotten permission, after my mother had made her promise true to law enforcement. While at the same time, Junaid is proving himself to be a much more higher level of Uncle Joey out. He is Uncle Joey at the most extreme level possible. Like Uncle Joey could not have been. Vandalism, threats, breaking people's things, belongings, and then breaking vandalism against their car, then threatening to break their car even further, only for his sex addiction. He's more Uncle Joey than Uncle Joey ever could have been. He could have told law enforcement, no, you guys, I'm not going to be like Uncle Joey. I'm not going to run after these girls and women. I'm not going to advertise myself in front of Hassan's cameras. I'm not going to break his things to try to run after these girls. I'm not going to take their contact info to try to run after them and have the police call on me every single day. I'm not going to be Uncle Joey like that, okay? He could have said that. He could have also told law enforcement it was wrong for them to have committed the wedding crime by covering over it in the first place, and that he was not going to be friends with law enforcement in this respect to become Uncle Joey's twin by running after these girls and having the police called on him. He was not going to do this, but instead, Junaid chose to be Uncle Joey while saying in court that he thinks it's terrible what Uncle Joey could have said around me as a child. Two different characters that Junaid is playing over here.